In one realm, a testament to enduring creation. In another, a monument to sudden decay. Here, in the jungles of Cambodia, we find a civilization that etched its cosmology into the very earth. The primary temples of Angkor mirror the star fields of the constellation Draco, a celestial map rendered in colossal megaliths. The carvings that adorn them are not mere decoration. They are three-dimensional tapestries, woven not from thread but from solid rock, with thousands of silent figures watching the centuries pass. These facts alone suggest a truth that official histories struggle to contain: that Angkor was the work of a profoundly advanced and ancient civilization. To understand it, one must ask a different question. Not, what should we know about Angkor? But rather, what must we unlearn? To approach this place, burdened by preconception, is to be blind to its true nature. The goal must be to see the work of its builders with an unclouded eye, to let the architecture speak in its own silent language of stone. Across the territory of modern Cambodia, more than 320 enigmatic structures have been discovered. The heart of this complex, a concentration of 168 sites, is known as Angkor. In 2007, a team from the University of Sydney surveyed an area of 3,000 square kilometers around the central temples, using aerial photography and LiDAR technology to peer beneath the jungle canopy. What they found was a sprawling, low-density urban landscape on a scale previously unimagined. Yet even this vast survey zone does not contain the whole story. A great many structures lie scattered far beyond its borders. This is a legacy comparable to the pyramids of Egypt or the lost cities of Mesoamerica. The sheer scale of the construction is staggering. Here we find the largest ancient reservoirs, or barais, ever built, one stretching for more than 7 kilometers. Intricate, branching systems of water management reveal a people who had subjugated the very element of water, taming the monsoon and channeling the lifeblood of an empire. Viewed from orbit, without context, the perfect geometry of the complex could be mistaken for a modern military airbase or a sprawling industrial plant, its primary axes aligned with perfect cardinal precision. On the ground, the mystery deepens, with hundreds of inexplicable traces on the stones, marks of a precision that seems to defy the tools of its era. Our journey begins not at the world-famous Angkor Wat, but at the true epicenter of this ancient world, the Bayon. It sits at the geometric heart of a greater city, Angkor Thom. This great city is a perfect square, its sides stretching 3 kilometers, encircled by a moat 100 meters wide and 4 meters deep. The city was protected by a formidable wall, 8 meters in height, pierced by 5 monumental gates. Flanking this immense citadel are 2 of the enormous ancient reservoirs, one still shimmering with water, a placid mirror reflecting a sky that has changed little since the city's enigmatic builders first looked to the stars. From the silent expanse of the stratosphere, the jungle canopy of Cambodia appears as an unbroken sea of green. But within this verdant ocean lies a geometric ghost, the faint outline of a vast ancient metropolis. At its heart, shrouded in myth and stone, is not the world-famous Angkor Wat, which stands in magnificent isolation nearby. The true center, the nucleus of this sprawling Khmer empire, is the city of Angkor Thom. And at its precise geometric core rises a mountain of faces, the Temple of Bayon. Its original
If you think you've seen everything, wait, what comes next will turn everything upside down.
Name, Jayagiri, whispers of a different origin, the Mountain of Victory, or more tellingly, the Mountain of Brahma. The architectural vision is staggering, a forest of 54 colossal stone towers, with the central spire climbing 45 meters into the tropical sky. From each tower, 4 serene, enigmatic faces gaze out towards the cardinal points of the compass. Time has taken its toll. Some towers now bear only 3 faces, others just 2. To count them precisely is a task for the patient and the devout. Researchers from the University of Tokyo, in a painstaking survey, arrived at the number 183. These visages are not carved in simple relief. They are masterpieces of polygonalsion that defies the centuries. But the ultimate question, the one that echoes through its stone corridors, is not how they were built, but who they represent. The official history tells a story of political and religious fusion. It claims these are the faces of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara stroke of medieval statecraft, an attempt to weave the divine into the fabric of royalty, creating the unassailable cult of the God King. And yet, the stone itself offers a silent, compelling rebuttal. A closer look reveals inconsistencies that challenge this accepted narrative. First, the figures are adorned with heavy, ornate jewelry, necklaces and elaborate earrings. Vanity. The Buddha is almost never depicted with 4 heads. But for the Hindu creator god, Brahma, the 4-faced form is his most essential and recognizable attribute. The evidence for a Hindu origin is not confined to the temple itself. The very causeways leading into the city of Angkor are a testament to another faith. They are flanked by a titanic struggle etched in stone. On the left, a row of devas, the gods. On the right, the asuras, the demons. In their hands, they grip the body of the Naga serpent, Vasuki, churning the cosmic ocean of milk in a foundational Hindu creation myth. Why would a purely Buddhist sanctuary be prefaced by such a powerful and explicit monument to Hinduism? For centuries, it was believed these 183 faces were monolithic, a single, repeated visage. But in the year 2007, the same University of Tokyo team shattered this illusion. Using a battery of scientific methods to compare every feature, every subtle curve of a lip, every arch of an eyebrow, they made a revolutionary discovery. The faces are not the same. They can be divided into 3 distinct groups, with unique facial features, expressions, and even adornments. The researchers categorize them as devas, asuras, and devatas. Most astonishingly, they concluded with high probability that many of the devata faces, including the most famous and photographed smiling face of Bayon, are female. 3 distinct groups: devas, asuras, and devatas. Could this be a reflection of something far older, a silent tribute to the Hindu Trimurti, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer? The question of why Jayagiri is now known as a Buddhist temple has a simple historical answer. Beginning in the 12th century, Buddhism swept through the region, supplanting Hinduism as the state religion. The temple was not destroyed, but recontextualized, its original meaning layered over with new belief. Today, Cambodia is a nation 90% Buddhist. And so, a simpler story is told, a story that serves the currents of modern commerce and national identity. Travel agencies, in their glossy brochures and ill-informed bloggers, repeat the mantra. It is the face of Buddha in the Buddhist temple of Bayon. But the truth, as is so often the case, is infinitely more complex and profound. The stones of Jayagiri do not
Wait, this is not the full story. The most important part is just beginning, and it changes everything we thought we...
lie. They simply wait. They hold a multiplicity of truths, a palimpsest of faith and power, a reminder that history is not a single immutable story, but a conversation across ages. It is a dialogue between what was, what we believe was, and what we ultimately choose to remember. Within the sprawling, silent city of Angkor, just meters from the enigmatic faces of the Bayon, stands a testament to a forgotten ambition. It is the Bayon, the second largest architectural complex in this ancient Khmer capital. It rises from the jungle floor, not as a temple, but as a man-made mountain, a colossal six-tiered pyramid engineered to touch the heavens. Its base, a staggering 128 by 102 meters, supports a structure that once soared to a height of 49 meters, a scale comparable to a modern 14-story building. To ascend this monument is to confront a profound architectural mystery. The stairways are impossibly steep, their treads narrow, their rises unnervingly high. The height of each step exceeds its width, forcing any who would climb into a slow, humbling crawl. It is a design that seems to defy human ergonomics, a recurring feature found throughout the sacred structures of Angkor. One is forced to wonder if these were ever stairways for mortals or pathways intended for the gods. At its zenith, a gilded tower, now center of his universe. But it is deep within the Bayon stone galleries that a more unsettling enigma is found, an anomaly brought to light by the meticulous work of independent researchers combing through these forgotten ruins. Here, etched into a sandstone wall, is evidence that challenges our entire conception of ancient technology. The surface bears witness to what appears to be a frozen moment of an industrial process. On one side, the stone blocks are rough, bearing the marks of conventional quarrying. On the other, the wall is perfectly smooth, adorned with intricate, standardized patterns. The transition is not gradual. It is a stark, vertical line, as if a colossal cutting mechanism, some form of unimaginable precision tool, sliced its way across the face of the wall, and, for reasons unknown, simply stopped. The line of termination is perfectly preserved, a scar left by an unknown tool. It suggests a process that cut and finished the stone simultaneously, carving delicate reliefs as it planed the surface. This is not the patient mark of a chisel in a human hand. It is the signature of a machine. The evidence becomes even more compelling just a short distance away. Here, we see what can only be described as a production error. Two sections of a complex linear pattern fail to align. The mismatch is subtle, yet undeniable. It is a glitch. A human artisan, spending days or weeks meticulously carving such a design, would have immediately noticed and corrected the flaw. But a machine, executing a pre-programmed path, would be indifferent to the error. It has a task, and it executes it regardless of imperfection. A digital ghost in an ancient machine. These two facts alone, the arrested cut and the uncorrected error, have led some to propose a radical hypothesis: that the builders of Angkor possessed a level of technology far beyond what history accredits them. Based on the precise striations and contours left in the stone, Speculative three-dimensional models of this hypothetical device have been engineered. Attempts by modern minds to reverse engineer a technology lost for a millennium. Step by step, such inquiries peel back the layers of accepted history.
And now comes the part no one talks about. But this is where the real mystery begins.
Suggesting a past far more complex than we imagine. The grand approach to the Bayon only deepens the sense of awe. A causeway 170 meters long leads to the eastern entrance. It is elevated nearly a meter above the ground, supported by 3 distinct rows of stout stone columns, a royal road through the heart of the city. Here, the sheer scale of the first tier of the pyramid dwarfs any human figure, a reminder of the immense labor and vision required. In places where the sandstone cladding has fallen away, the temple's core is revealed. A porous, rust-colored volcanic rock known as laterite. This was the secret to Angkor's monumental construction. A skeleton of laterite, strong yet relatively lightweight, was first erected, and then meticulously faced with intricately carved grey sandstone. Yet the most sophisticated technology may lie hidden beneath it all. It is asserted that these immense structures, weighing millions of tons, rest upon a form of floating foundation, an engineering marvel designed to provide stability on the soft, waterlogged soil of the Cambodian plain. This is a technique our own civilization only rediscovered and mastered in the 19th century. The Bayon, therefore, is more than a ruin. It is a library of questions written in stone. Its precipitous stairways, its impossibly precise cuts, its advanced foundations, they all whisper of a knowledge and capability that sits uneasily within our timeline. The past is not a settled land, mapped and fully understood. It is a shifting landscape of evidence and belief, where a single mark on a forgotten wall can challenge everything we thought we knew. Carved into the unblinking stone is a silent, sprawling narrative. Here, a vast tapestry of bas-reliefs chronicles a world both familiar and alien. Unique depictions of animals, long vanished from these jungles, share wall space with harrowing battles, not between armies, but between men and creatures of nightmare. And among them, one image arrests the eye and defies simple explanation. A man of impossible, gigantic stature, locked in combat with a full-grown war elephant. It is a scene from a lost mythology, a whisper of an age of titans. Journeying northward, the landscape gives way to the Phimianakas, the celestial palace. It is a severe 3-tiered pyramid of laterite, a stark departure from the intricate sandstone that surrounds it.
This is where things get really interesting. What you're about to hear might explain why this was never meant to be discovered.
For those who seek whispers of visitors from other worlds within the Angkorian Empire, the search often begins here. Its very name is a clue, a compound of Vimana, the flying palaces of the gods, and Akasha, the Sanskrit word for sky or ether. In its stark geometry, it resembles less a temple and more a platform to the heavens, a landing place for celestial visitors. The naked eye confirms that this structure is a composite of ages. The sandstone edifice perched through themselves, a different hue and texture, seem to have been added much later, absent from the original stark design. Legend attempts to fill the void of history. It tells of a Naga, a mystical serpent woman who resided here. The Khmer king was compelled to unite with her every single night before he could attend to his mortal queens. It was a ritual to ensure the prosperity of the kingdom. But perhaps this myth is a veil, a story woven by common people to explain the king's regular, solitary visits to this strange, sky-facing pyramid. The true purpose of his nightly pilgrimage may have been something far more profound and far more secret. The state of these monuments is a paradox. Evidence of both arrested construction and waves of restoration, spanning centuries, is everywhere. It is at once a tragedy and a salvation. Without these interventions, we would not be gazing upon temples, but upon earthen mounds, their secrets swallowed by the jungle, dismissed as mere hills or burial kurgan. Yet this constant reshaping makes the past a fluid, uncertain thing. It becomes a formidable challenge to discern which walls stand in their primordial state and which have been reassembled by later hands. We know the Khmer themselves reworked these temples in the 12th century and again in the 16th. Then came the French, who colonized Cambodia, and in 1861, through the eyes of the botanist Henri Mouot, rediscovered the sprawling ruins of Angkor for the Western world. Their methods of preservation were meticulous and drastic. Entire structures were disassembled, block by enormous block. Each stone was treated, restored, and then the colossal puzzle was pieced back together. This is why, in many places, one can see jarringly wide joints between blocks, a modern scar on an ancient face. Yet elsewhere, particularly in the lowest, oldest layers, the joinery is flawless, a seamless fusion of stone so perfect it seems to have been molded, not carved. Leaving the grand enclosure of Angkor Thom through its northern gate, the path leads to Preah Khan, the sacred sword. After the Bayon and Angkor Wat, it is the third largest complex in the heart of the ancient city. From above, its layout is a breathtaking exercise in sacred geometry. A vast rectangle, nearly a kilometer to a side, encircled by a protective moat. Within this boundary lies a labyrinth of dozens of buildings and serene, reflective pools. Here, the sacred symbols of creation, the yoni and the lingam, assert their spiritual power. A mysterious square slab, perforated with a grid of precise holes, sits with its purpose lost to time. A statue of the eagle god Garuda, wings outstretched, has survived the centuries with its fierce majesty intact. And everywhere, there is the signature of a master civilization, polygonal masonry, where immense multi-angled blocks are fitted together with impossible precision. The carvings, as always, are sublime, with fantastic flowing incisions that seem to defy the hardness of the stone. Yet it is here, within the sprawling courtyards of Preah Khan, that one finds an architectural anomaly. The only ancient structure in all of Cambodia to feature round columns. They rise with a clean, classical elegance, reminiscent not of the Khmer Empire, but of the distant, antique worlds of Greece and Rome. They are an enigma, a sudden shift in the architectural language, a question posed in stone for which we have no answer. Each pillar stands as a silent testament that the greatest questions are not answered in books of history, but are etched forever into the unyielding heart of stone. In the sprawling sacred geography of Angkor, certain structures do not declare their purpose with regal grandeur. They whisper of mysteries. Here, a two-story edifice of silent columns stands as an unresolved equation, a singular architectural experiment frozen in time. The question that hangs in the humid air is, why here, amidst consecrated ground, the ancient builders chose to embark on such a unique and seemingly isolated venture? The true revelation, however, is not what was completed, but what was left undone. Carved into the walls are the faint outlines and rough beginnings of stone louvers, the intricate slatted windows seen throughout the Khmer Empire. Their unfinished state offers a breathtaking glimpse into a forgotten methodology. It tells us that these delicate, complex features were not carved separately and then assembled as any modern builder would do. Instead, they were hewn directly from the solid stone blocks after they were already set into the finished wall. This is the same logic-defying technique glimpsed at the Bayon, a discovery that fundamentally overturns our understanding of their craft. To work in this manner is to operate with an almost supernatural precision. The builders would have needed tools of incredible accuracy and a mastery of their medium that borders on the impossible. There is no room for error. A single slip of the hand, a miscalculation of a fraction of an inch, and the entire multi-ton block would be irrevocably marred, forcing a reconstruction of the entire section. If such precision was possible, 4 ures were brought to life, perhaps they too were coaxed from the solid face of the temple walls, emerging from the stone as if by magic. This ambition was not confined to subtle techniques. It reached for the heavens. Nearby, Prasat Ta Keo rises from the jungle floor, an immense, unfinished mountain of sandstone. It is a colossal stepped pyramid.
Most people stop watching right here, but if you continue, you'll discover something almost no one knows.
Soaring to a height of 45 meters across 5 imposing tiers, its base measuring 122 by 106 meters. But it is the towers crowning its summit that arrest the eye. Unconventional, almost defiant in their stark geometry, they stand as silent sentinels against the sky, their purpose as obscure as the reason the temple was never completed. Yet, of all the temples in the eastern expanse of Angkor, one has captured the know that knows it by another name, Ta Prohm. Its global fame was sealed.
And now comes the part no one talks about. But this is where the real mystery begins.
Not by ancient kings, but by Hollywood, when it became the cinematic backdrop for the adventures of Lara Croft. In the wake of the film, the world descended upon Angkor, awakening a global fascination with the legacy of this lost civilization. But long before the film crews arrived, this was a universe unto itself. Inscriptions discovered within its walls speak of a staggering 80,000 souls dedicated to its service. Among them were 18 high priests, 2,740 officials, and 615 celestial dancers, whose movements were a vital conduit between the mortal and divine realms. Today, Ta Prohm is where the works of humanity and the power of nature are locked in a slow, breathtaking embrace. Silk cotton and strangler fig trees pour very structures they consume. This haunting symbiosis was made possible only by centuries of human absence, when the jungle returned to reclaim what was always its own. That these ancient walls can bear the crushing weight of such titans is a silent testament to the genius of their builders. Look closer, past the spectacle of the trees, and the temple reveals its more subtle secrets. Here, etched into a stone panel, is a bas-relief of an animal that defies easy explanation, a creature bearing a striking resemblance to a prehistoric stegosaurus. Elsewhere, the ghost of a masterpiece. All that remains of a colossal Garuda, the divine mount of Vishnu, are its mighty talons and the tips of its powerful wings, still clutching the serpentine bodies of 2 Nagas. The central figure, a victim of ancient iconoclasm, was erased from history, leaving a void of sacred violence. And in another corner, a figure that seems to bend the rules of perception. A man meditating in two distinct postures simultaneously. An ancient Vitruvian man, lost in a state of impossible tranquility. These are not isolated curiosities. They are fragments of a larger story. A story of creation, deliberate destruction, later additions, and painstaking restorations. The architectural language throughout Angkor speaks in a recurring motif: the cascading pyramid, the temple mountain. For the Khmer, cosmology was geography. Their world revolved around the myth of a sacred peak, Mount Meru, the axis of the universe and the home of the gods. Each stone pyramid was not merely a building, but a microcosm of the cosmos, a man-made mountain designed to bring heaven closer to earth. And in their silent, weathered stones, we see more than just a fallen empire. We see a profound, enduring attempt to carve meaning into the very fabric of the world. An echo of a people who did not just live on the land, but sought to build the universe itself. In the heart of Asia, a foundational myth shapes the very bedrock of thought. A story that stands in stark contrast to the Western narrative of a world tree. It is the myth of Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain, the axis of the universe. This cosmology is not merely abstract, it is carved into the earth itself, giving form to the great temples of the Khmer Empire. Here, architecture is theology. Every causeway becomes a bridge between the mortal and divine realms. Every moat and artificial reservoir, a representation of the cosmic ocean that surrounds the sacred mountain. The entire complex is a microcosm of the universe, a map of heaven rendered in stone. Within this sacred geography, the stone itself behaves in ways that defy simple explanation. One encounters the phenomenon of false windows, a feature so prevalent in Cambodia, it seems as if a dedicated factory must have once existed for their mass production. These are not openings, but intricate lattices of stone balusters, petrified blinds that admit only patterns of light and shadow. The quality of their carving is breathtaking, a testament to immense skill. While one can surmise a practical purpose, to shield the interior from the searing tropical sun, their sheer abundance hints at a deeper, symbolic function. Even more perplexing are the false doors. They are not simply decorative outlines, but fully realized portals, complete with frames and lintels, that lead nowhere. They are sealed, solid stone. One is forced to question the logic. Would it not have been simpler to leave an unbroken wall? Their aesthetic value is debatable, their practical purpose non-existent. The great meaning of these doors seems to lie beyond the threshold of conventional reasoning, suggesting a passage not for the body, but for the spirit, a gateway for the gods to enter and depart the sacred space. The very construction of the roofs challenges our assumptions. What appears from a distance to be simple tiling reveals, upon closer inspection, a marvel of stonemasonry. These are not tiles, but rounded, pentagonal stone blocks, interlocked with the precision of a puzzle. And across their surfaces, at intervals of every 30 centimeters, intricate patterns are carved. This detail tells a profound story, that such complex and laborious work was not reserved for special features, but was the routine, the common language of the ancient builders. Above the doors and windows, massive horizontal lintels serve as stone canvases, depicting epic events from mythology and history. But it is on the walls that the soul of the empire is laid bare. The sheer quantity of bas-reliefs is overwhelming. Scenes from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the spectacular churning of the ocean of milk flow across vast surfaces. At Angkor Wat, an entire gallery wall is covered in a single unbroken narrative carved in stone. Not even in the tombs of the Egyptian pharaohs does one find such a density of storytelling. Here, the complexity and quality are so high, the repetition of motifs so perfect, that it forces us to contemplate the methods used, to wonder at a mastery that seems to push the very limits of human craft. And amidst these grand epics of gods and demons, the stone breathes with a more delicate life. Nearly 2,000 apsaras, celestial dancers, adorn the temples. They are spirits of the air and water, the nymphs of Khmer mythology. Crucially, they are not a faceless chorus. Each possesses unique facial features, distinct clothing, and can be categorized into one of approximately 38 different hairstyles. They are a silent census of beauty, a frozen ballet celebrating the divine feminine. At the spiritual core of these temples lies a symbol of immense creative power, the lingam. As in the temples of India, they are ubiquitous, but here they possess a unique feature. A rectangular base, the yoni, symbolizing the divine feminine principle. They were found installed at the apex of the highest central towers, reaching for the heavens, and also in the quiet darkness of the lowest chambers, connecting to the earth. It is here, in this land, that one of the largest lingams of the ancient world was created. Imagine a 4-meter giant, hewn from a single monolithic block of stone. It was a monument of supreme ambition. But as the builders attempted to raise it from the quarry, the stone, under unimaginable stress, yielded. It cracked. That fractured monolith, lying where it fell, is perhaps the most eloquent symbol of all. It speaks not of failure, but of a vision so grand it tested the very limits of the material world. The mysteries of this architecture, the doors to nowhere, the endless stories, the celestial dancers, are not puzzles to be solved with an engineer's logic. They are the expressions of a different way of seeing the universe, a testament to a people who did not simply build structures, but who carved their entire belief system into the living rock, creating a world where a wall was not merely a barrier, and a door was not always meant for the living to pass through. The sacred ground is guarded by silent sentinels, carved from the very bedrock of belief. Here, the Naga, the mythical multi-headed serpent, unfurls its stony hood, a symbol of protection and the primordial waters. Beside it stands its eternal counterpart, the lion. To understand the true face of these guardians is a challenge in itself. The ravages of time have been unkind. Most of the
Stay with me, because what comes next has been hidden for a very long time, and only a few people know the truth behind it.
original lion statues are now little more than haunting silhouettes, their heads shattered, their features blunted by centuries of monsoon rains and encroaching jungle. In their place, we often find the scholarly but sterile reconstructions of modern restorers. But a recent discovery, unearthed just 4 years ago in this very region, offers a glimpse into the past, a window into the soul of the Khmer artisan. Here is the authentic lion of Angkor, not a caricature, but a visage of regal power. Its musculature is coiled, its form both beautiful and terrifyingly realistic. It is a creature of immense dignity. To approach these gateways in their prime was not merely to enter a temple, It was to pass a divine threshold. One must imagine the ancient pilgrim arriving after a long journey, standing before these two statues. What message did these twin guardians convey? A warning of the divine power within? A promise of the sanctuary that lay beyond? They were the first and final arbiters at the edge of the spiritual world. Beyond these guardians lies the culmination of an empire's faith, an architectural titan that defies the jungle and the ages. Angkor Wat. This is no mere temple, it is a universe rendered in stone. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend. The entire complex sprawls across 162 hectares. Its central tower soars 65 meters into the sky, a height comparable to a modern 22-story building. The outer courtyard alone measures 1,025 by 800 meters, a vast sacred plain enclosed by a moat of colossal proportions. This channel of water, 190 meters wide, forms a perimeter stretching 5.5 kilometers. Its depth varies from 1.5 to 4 meters, and it is a marvel of engineering. This is no stagnant ditch. It is the lifeblood of the complex, a feature designed never to run dry. It is fed by a vast, interconnected circulatory system of canals and reservoirs, the masterwork of the Khmer hydro engineers. The design is so sophisticated that even the torrential rains of the wet season were harnessed. A network of subtle spillways, carved into the very fabric of the temple, collected rainwater from the vast grounds and channeled it back into the moat, ensuring a perfect, stable equilibrium. The entire structure exists in a symbiotic relationship with water, a microcosm of the cosmos floating on the primordial ocean. The very bones of Angkor Wat are stone giants, megaliths of impossible weight, quarried and transported through means that still fuel debate, were raised to form its galleries and towers. Look closely at these sandstone blocks, so fitted with a precision so absolute that the seams between them vanish, a testament to a level of craftsmanship that borders on the supernatural. Within the central enclosure, 4 immense basins dominate the courtyard. They are empty now, their purpose a mystery. Were they for ritual purification? Reflecting pools to mirror the heavens and the 5 sacred peaks of Mount Meru represented by the towers. Or something else entirely. Their true function remains an enigma, their silent stone-lined voids holding the secrets of forgotten ceremonies. But the most profound secret of Angkor Wat lies buried deep within its heart, in the central tower. The Cambodian Department of Archaeology confirms a startling truth. The serene Buddha statue that resides there today is a later addition. It was not part of the original design. In its place, there was once an entrance, a hollow passage leading into the temple's core. Here, archaeologists discovered.
Most people stop watching right here, but if you continue, you'll discover something almost no one knows. If you think you've seen everything, wait, what comes next will turn everything upside down.
Reservoirs, the masterwork of the Khmer hydro engineers. The design is so sophisticated that even the torrential rains of the wet season were harnessed. A network of subtle spillways, carved into the very fabric of the temple, collected rainwater from the vast grounds and channeled it back into the moat, ensuring a perfect, stable equilibrium. The entire structure exists in a symbiotic relationship with water, a microcosm of the cosmos floating on the primordial ocean. The very bones of Angkor Wat are stone giants, megaliths of impossible weight, quarried and transported through means that still fuel debate, were raised to form its galleries and towers. Look closely at these sandstone blocks, so fitted with a precision so absolute that the seams between them vanish, a testament to a level of craftsmanship that borders on the supernatural. Within the central enclosure, 4 immense basins dominate the courtyard. They are empty now, their purpose a mystery. Were they for ritual purification? Reflecting pools to mirror the heavens and the 5 sacred peaks of Mount Meru represented by the towers. Or something else entirely. Their true function remains an enigma, their silent stone-lined voids holding the secrets of forgotten ceremonies. But the most profound secret of Angkor Wat lies buried deep within its heart, in the central tower. The Cambodian Department of Archaeology confirms a startling truth. The serene Buddha statue that resides there today is a later addition. It was not part of the original design. In its place, there was once an entrance, a hollow passage leading into the temple's core. Here, archaeologists discovered a narrow aperture in the vaulted ceiling, a celestial eye, and beneath it, a shaft, plunging 27 meters straight down into the earth, terminating in a hidden subterranean chamber. The design was a marvel of cosmic alignment. For a fleeting moment around high noon, a single beam of sunlight would pierce the darkness of the tower, travel down the long, narrow shaft, and strike a single object in the chamber below, a stone coffer. Tragically, treasure hunters, driven by greed rather than knowledge, reached it first, leaving only shattered fragments of the stone box. But fortune provided a key. At the nearby temple of Bante Samre, an identical coffer was found, miraculously intact. It is remarkably small, with curious openings on its top and side. It poses a question that overturns all simple assumptions. It is far too small for the remains of a king, unless the body was subjected to an unimaginable contortion. This was not a sarcophagus. The theory of a royal burial collapses. The box was not a tomb for a man, but a vessel for something else entirely. Something that required a precise annual baptism of pure sunlight. A sacred relic, an instrument of power, a conduit between the earth and the heavens. The object it was built to house is gone, and with it, the answer. We are left standing before an empty chamber, illuminated by a sliver of light, a silent testament to a purpose so profound, its true meaning may forever lie beyond our grasp. Within the silent chambers of Angkor, a stone coffer lies in wait. For some unknown reason, it craved the sun, and when light pierced its inner darkness, something extraordinary was meant to occur. An aperture bored into its side deepens the enigma. Was it a drain for some long-evaporated cooling fluid? A simple escape for the monsoon rains that breached its confines? Or a conduit for a technology we can no longer comprehend? The theories are as numerous as the stones themselves. This single mystery is merely one thread in a vast tapestry. On the eastern flank of Angkor Wat, a curious feature presents itself: an entrance without steps. It is believed that this was a grand causeway for the delivery of immense cargo, perhaps hauled by the thunderous tread of elephants. Whether by beast or by some other forgotten means, the purpose is clear. This was a gateway for giants, a platform rising more than 3 meters from the jungle floor. From this vantage point, the temple's divine architecture resolves into a deliberate pattern. The great towers of Angkor Wat form a perfect quincunx, a celestial formation of 5 points, with 4 towers marking a square and a 5th at its center. This sacred geometry is not unique to the Khmer, whispering through the designs of other ancient sites, and echoing, strangely, in the transient patterns of crop circles found in fields thousands of miles away. Nearby, another titan slumbers, Phnom Bakheng. This is yet another mountain temple, a pyramid constructed to symbolize the sacred Mount Meru, the center of all physical and spiritual universes. Official records speak of a 7-tiered structure, yet a careful eye can only discern 6, and the 6th is a mere shadow of the others, a faint architectural echo. Scholars from the University of Chicago, led by Paul Wheatley, have proposed a breathtaking theory that Phnom Bakheng is not merely a temple, but a sprawling lunar calendar etched in stone. The central tower represents the axis of the world, around which orbit 108 smaller towers. This number is no accident. It signifies the 4 phases of the moon, each lasting 27 days. Each of the principal terraces contains 12 towers, representing the 12-year astrological cycle of Jupiter. And yet, a dissonance hangs in the air. One cannot escape the feeling that the towers are an alien element, perhaps built much later. Their placement feels haphazard, almost crooked, a stark contrast to the obsessive supersymmetry the ancient Khmer builders expressed in every other carving, every wall, every intricate pattern. From the pyramid's summit, Angkor Wat reveals itself in the distance, a jewel set 1.5 kilometers away. Here, atop this man-made mountain, one finds impossibly complex stone blocks and, of course, the ever-present lingams. It is almost certain that a colossal lingam once crowned this entire structure, a focal point of immense power. At the pyramid's base lies the evidence, a massive cracked pedestal hewn from a single solid piece of rock, a monolithic testament to what once was. Strip away the towers, and a different vision emerges. The tiered structure, stark and geometric, becomes an ideal
And now comes the part no one talks about. But this is where the real mystery begins.
landing platform, a scene from a world far beyond our own. It is a speculation that captured the modern imagination. It was here, on the peak of Phnom Bakheng, that the creators of Lara Croft's cinematic adventure chose to land their hero's jeep, dropped from the sky. A short distance away lies Prasat Kravan, a smaller brick sanctuary that holds its own unique secrets. Its towers possess a singular, baffling feature. They have no roofs. Viewed from a celestial vantage point, they reveal the sacred geometry of a mandala. Inside the main tower, the consequence of this design becomes clear. During the monsoons, rain would not be shed away, but channeled directly onto the pedestal that once held a lingam, a ritual of water and stone, heaven and earth. Or was a roof once present, sealing these chambers in darkness? We can only guess at its original form. But here, a final somber detail emerges. The faces of the deities, carved into the brickwork, were at some point in their history systematically destroyed, chiseled into silence. An ancient animosity, a forgotten conflict, left its scars on the gods themselves. The jungle may reclaim the stone, but it cannot erase the questions. Each ruin is a dialogue between the builders who knew its purpose and we who can only guess. We impose our own stories of calendars, of kings, of celestial visitors, onto their silent legacy. For in the heart of Cambodia, the stones do not give up their secrets easily. They merely offer new questions for each generation that dares to listen. The stone bears the scars of time, its figures mutilated, their stories half erased by centuries of silence. But here, etched into the very fabric of the wall, is a technology of breathtaking rarity, a testament to a forgotten craft. A bas-relief sculpted not from a single slab of yielding sandstone, but from the humble brick itself. Each component, fired and laid, contributes to a larger image, a lost art of immense complexity. This structure whispers of a different empire. It bears the unmistakable hallmarks of the Champa Kingdom, a maritime power that flourished on the coast of what is now Vietnam, beginning in the 1st century before the Common Era. And yet, the paradox deepens, for it is embraced by a classic Angkorian moat and serviced by a nearby barrage, a vast reservoir that was the lifeblood of the Khmer. When French explorers first stumbled upon this site in the 19th century, it was a ghost, a skeletal ruin strangled by the jungle. In the meticulos, carefully integrated into the ancient walls, bear the discreet stamp CA, a subtle signature of their modern intervention. To understand this civilization's mastery over water is to understand its soul, and at its heart lies the ancient legacy of the Naga. The Cambodian people, the Khmer, consider themselves the direct descendants of these serpentine mythical beings, half-human, half-divine serpent, rulers of the aquatic realm. While often depicted elsewhere as humanoids from the waist up, the Naga of Cambodia takes on a more primal and majestic form, a great cobra crowned with an odd number of heads, typically 5 or 7. Thousands of these stone guardians line the causeways and balustrades of the empire, their silent, hooded visages a constant presence. The Khmer people, according to their foundational epic, were born from this union of worlds. The story tells of an Indian prince, a wanderer from a distant land, who married the daughter of the sovereign Naga king. As a dowry, a gift to the newlyweds, the great king performed an act of cosmic creation. He drank the waters of the world ocean, causing the seabed to rise, gifting his children a new kingdom born from the abyss. Upon this reclaimed earth, the prince and his Naga bride founded their civilization. This reverence for the serpent is no mere folktale. It is woven into the highest strata of spiritual thought in both Hinduism and Buddhism, where the Naga is an ancient symbol of profound wisdom. It was the Naga king, Mukhalinda, who shielded the meditating Buddha from the searing sun and monsoon rains in the weeks before his enlightenment. The image is iconic, the Buddha in serene contemplation, sheltered by the magnificent 7-headed hood of the Serpent King who rose from the earth to protect him. A belief persists that the Buddha himself entrusted the ultimate truths of existence to the Nagas, a sacred deposit held in their watery domain until humanity was mature enough to receive it. This mystic bond between serpent wisdom and human potential finds its ultimate expression in the figure of the sage Nagarjuna, whose name is lent to the otherworldly caves of India. For 17 years, he meditated upon the image of the Naga until he was granted passage into their submerged world. He returned bearing teachings of such profundity that his name was forever changed from Arjuna, the man, to Nagarjuna, the one whose wisdom was drawn from the Naga. The very name, in the ancient essence, keepers of treasured records, the guardians of esoteric knowledge, and burners of the darkness of ignorance. The serpent's shadow falls across nearly every culture on Earth. It is the dragon of Asia, the great worm of Western lore, the biblical tempter in the garden. Heroes of the Mahabharata conversed with and even married Naga women. Here at Angkor, this universal symbol may have served a more terrestrial purpose. Scholars interpret the silent sentinels of these temples, the lions and the Nagas, as emblems of two ruling classes. The lion, a symbol of the king, the monarch, the warrior caste, representing temporal power. And the Naga, the emblem of the Brahmin, the priest, the keeper of wisdom, representing spiritual authority. It is a silent dialogue in stone, a balance of power between the sword and the soul. And perhaps it is this union of earthly might and profound serpentine wisdom drawn from the depths that allowed a civilization to not only tame the very water that gave it life, but to turn mud and brick into an echo of the divine. Among the Khmer, power was a divided stream, flowing for centuries between two great classes, the earthly rulers and the spiritual elites, a caste of priests known as the Naga. These were not mere men, but beings believed to be descended from primordial serpent deities, guardians of the earth's treasures and conduits of esoteric knowledge. Yet, in the grand tapestry of Cambodian mythology, these powerful serpent figures are often depicted not as masters, but as instruments in the hands of gods. In the central Hindu myth of the churning of the ocean of milk, a cosmic tug-of-war between the gods and demons, it is the colossal serpent king, Vasuki, who becomes the rope. They wrap his immense body around the sacred Mount Meru, using him to churn the primordial sea, an act of immense creation that yields a trove of celestial treasures. On other stone reliefs, we see Garuda, the divine eagle mount of the god Vishnu, clutching two Nagas in a grip of absolute authority. Is this a symbol of conquest? A visual record of a time when one power structure subjugated another? Or does it represent a deeper, more complex hierarchy, a cosmic balance where even the most powerful have a role to play, willingly or not? The answers, if they exist, are buried in stone. At
Stay with me, because what comes next has been hidden for a very long time, and only a few people know the truth behind it.
Considered one of the most ancient temple sites in the entire Angkorian complex, archaeologists have unearthed megaliths that whisper of an even older time, a civilization dating back to the Iron Age. Here, the central focus is an enigmatic platform, a single monumental slab of stone, once whole, now fractured by time and its own immense weight. It rests upon four smaller plinths, a configuration that suggests not a place of worship, but a pedestal with a technical purpose, its true function lost to the ages. Scattered around these ruins are columns and blocks of astonishing quality, carved with a precision that defies their antiquity. They lie strewn across the landscape, as if a child of titans had scattered a set of colossal building blocks, their game long since finished. 14 kilometers to the southeast lies Bakong, a testament to the evolution of this architectural genius. Here, the vision solidifies into the form of a six-stepped pyramid, a man-made mountain reaching for the heavens. At its apex, on the sixth and smallest tier, sits the central sanctuary, a temple tower once dedicated to the gods, surrounded by smaller shrines on the levels below, a microcosm of the celestial world rendered in laterite and sandstone. Yet, to truly understand the struggle between human ambition and the relentless power of nature, one must travel 40 kilometers north of Angkor, to the sprawling, half-swallowed complex of Beng Melia. Excavated only recently, the site has been largely spared from restoration. This is its gift. Here, we can witness the cities as the first explorers found them, locked in an eternal embrace with the jungle. The dialogue between man-made ruin and the wild growth that consumes it is nowhere more eloquent. Strangler figs pour over galleries, their roots a web of living timber encasing carved stone, prying apart massive blocks with silent, inexorable force. In comparison to the manicured grandeur of the main Angkorian cities, Beng Melia is a raw, visceral experience. Three-dimensional reconstructions reveal its original, magnificent layout. A vast, intricate network of moats, galleries, and towers. It is a landscape that feels torn from the pages of science fiction, a lost world on a distant planet. But its purpose was deeply terrestrial. Beng Melia was a vital nexus, a central hub at the crossroads of ancient highways, where goods from the Kulen Mountains were traded and distributed along the Royal Road. Researchers believe it was also a critical logistical point, a way station where colossal sandstone blocks, quarried from the Kulen Plateau, were moved along canals to build the marvels of Angkor itself. Further still, in the valley
And now comes the part no one talks about. But this is where the real mystery begins.
of Kokur, we find what was once a capital city. Across this territory, some 40 structures have been identified. Its Sanskrit name was Lingapura, the city of lingams. And true to its name, the landscape is punctuated by these potent symbols of the god Shiva's creative energy. Their sheer number is staggering, a forest of stone phalluses rising from the earth. It is a name given not by its original builders, but by those who came after, a people trying to make sense of the profound and alienating vision they had discovered. The names we give these places, the City of Lingams, the Serpent's Pool, are but echoes, our own attempts to impose meaning on a silence that has lasted 1,000 years. The original builders, their language, their precise bell of what stories they would tell if only we knew how to listen. In the shadowed jungles of Cambodia, a structure rises, known to some by a name whispered with a certain grim romance: the Pyramid of Death. Its proper name is Prasat Prang, and the site is Koh Ker, but the ominous moniker clings to it, a testament to its severe and imposing form. It is a pyramid of 6 tiers, ascending 36 meters into the canopy, its steep sandstone staircase a haunting echo of the Great Pyramids of Mesoamerica. This is not a tomb, but a temple mountain, a man-made axis connecting the terrestrial realm to the celestial. Archaeological records speak of a wonder that once crowned this summit, a feature that would have blazed in the tropical sun. They describe a 9-meter lingam, a sacred phallus, hewn not from common stone, but from a single colossal crystal of quartz. Today the crystal is gone, a victim of time or plunder. Yet its housing remains, a vast 5-meter square aperture at the pyramid's apex. From the bottom of this socket, a shaft plunges into an unknown depth, a silent throat leading to the heart of the earth, its ultimate purpose lost to history. But this single enigmatic pyramid is merely a prelude to a far grander mystery. To understand
This is where things get really interesting. What you're about to hear might explain why this was never meant to be.
it, we must travel to the sprawling city of Angkor. Upon a stele within its sacred precincts, an inscription provides a key, a Rosetta Stone for the entire landscape. T6, British researcher John Grigsby unveiled a staggering proposition. The 320 temples of the Angkor complex were not randomly placed. They were a deliberate, terrestrial projection of 320 visible stars in the circumpolar region of the Northern Hemisphere. The principal temples, Angkor Wat, Angkor Thom, and others, trace the unmistakable form of a celestial beast, the constellation Draco, the dragon. For the ancient Khmer, this was no ordinary constellation. It was the physical manifestation of the universal serpent, the Naga, a powerful deity of water and creation to whom they paid reverence. In Hancock, Grigsby used computer simulations to wind back the celestial clock, attempting to match the star map on the ground with the star map in the sky. They found a profound anomaly. The celestial dragon was inverted, a mirror image turned 180 degrees from its modern orientation. The simulation wound back the millennia, past the founding of Rome, beyond the building of the Giza pyramids, deeper and deeper into the abyss of prehistory, until, at the precise moment of dawn on the spring equinox, 10,500 years before
This is where things get really interesting. What you're about to hear might explain why this was never meant to be discovered.
Christ, the alignment was perfect. This date, impossibly ancient, aligns with another thread of esoteric knowledge. Plato's description of the Great Ages, a time when the sun rose in the constellation of Leo, the age of the lion. And so we are left with a serpent in the heavens and a lion in the zodiac. Throughout Angkor, stone sentinels stand guard, the Naga serpent and the regal lion. Could this date, long before the accepted timeline of the Khmer Empire, represent the true genesis of this sacred landscape, a blueprint inherited from a forgotten epoch? The genius of Angkor was not confined to the heavens. It was etched into the very earth, in the form of vast, engineered reservoirs known as barrays. At the center of these immense bodies of water, the Khmer built island temples, serene sanctuaries floating between earth and sky. In the West Barray, one finds the West Mebon. Here, in 1936, the earth yielded a fragment of its former glory. Parts of a colossal 6-meter bronze statue of Vishnu, the largest of its kind ever found in Cambodia, now resting in the National Museum. Across the complex, in the now dry East Barray, a reservoir once measuring over 7 kilometers in length, stands the East Mebon. Here, the structure is far better preserved, a laterite step pyramid adorned with towers. The 13th century Chinese diplomat Zhou Daguan wrote of visiting this place and seeing a great bronze Buddha, from whose navel a constant stream of water flowed, feeding the reservoir that gave life to the empire. The stone itself seems to breathe, its surfaces covered in intricate patterns that flow across the Latin. Yet perhaps the most profound expression of this cosmic worldview lies within the waters of the Jaya Tataka Barai, at the temple of Niak Pian. It is a central sanctuary encircled by 4 pools, a microcosm of the mythical Himalayan lake from which the 4 great rivers of Asia were said to flow. This was a place of healing, where the waters were imbued with spiritual power, balancing the elements of the universe within the human body. The builders of Angkor did not simply erect stone, they sculpted a universe. They sought to create a perfect harmony between their kingdom and the cosmos, a place where divine order was made manifest on earth. They inscribed their faith not only in constellations of rock, but in the flow of water and the passage of stars. What we see today are the echoes of a mind that saw no division between the world below and the heavens above. A silent, sprawling testament to a people who dared to build eternity. A stone tower caught in the eternal embrace of two colossal serpents. Their tails intertwine, their bodies coiling upwards in a display of serpentine power that has echoed through the centuries. This is Niek Pian, a place where myth is rendered in sandstone. It is claimed that this island sanctuary was once a great hospital for the Khmer Empire, a place of healing, where the balance of the four humors was restored by sacred waters. But the stone here tells more than one story. Opposite the Naga, another enigma is carved into the walls. At first glance, it defies logic. Is it a ritual of transformation, a man merging with a beast, or something more profound, a record of genetic experimentation lost to time? The truth, it turns out, is woven into the tapestry of Buddhist legend. This is the celestial steed, Balaha, a creature of salvation, descending from the heavens to rescue desperate sailors from an island of demons. A story of faith, a promise of rescue, immortalized for all to see. At the heart of this sacred geometry, a primary reservoir once held the empire's most vital resource. From its four cardinal points, smaller chambers branch out, each guarded by a stoic stone head, a lion, an elephant, a horse, and a man. From their mouths, water once flowed, the lifeblood of this civilization, channeled with an engineer's precision and an artist's soul. Even today, the scars on the landscape are unmistakable. Where the jungle has not reclaimed the earth, the outlines of additional buildings and reservoirs can be seen, a ghostly footprint of a city far grander than what remains. This raises the ultimate question: why? What was the true function of these immense, interlocking complexes that sprawl across the Cambodian plain? To this, history offers three distinct and competing visions. The first, the orthodox version, tells a familiar story of power and piety. It posits that these are religious monuments, temples erected by the various god-kings of the Khmer Empire between the 10th and 12th centuries. The construction of each majestic sanctuary was an act of devotion, reinforcing faith in the gods and, by extension, in the divine authority of the king who commanded such a feat. Built through the grueling labor of thousands of subjects, they were monuments to a celestial order on earth. Later, as kings passed into that celestial realm, some of these temples were repurposed as their final resting places, their tombs. It is a classical narrative, a powerful ruler, a legion of laborers, and a monumental, almost incomprehensible expenditure of human life and resources. A second version emerges from the fringes of historical thought, one that looks not to the ground, but to the stars. It suggests that Angkor was not merely a city, but a sophisticated navigational point for cosmic flights, a beacon for ancient astronauts. While this may have been a secondary function, it recasts the entire complex as part of a forgotten interplanetary network. Yet a third explanation presents itself, one that is perhaps the most revolutionary. It proposes that the great structures of Angkor were not primarily places of worship, but something else entirely. A form of power station, an organic machine designed to harness the energy of the sun. The precise type of energy they generated and the methods they used remain an open question, but the evidence is tantalizing. Peculiar apertures and chambers are carved into the towers, aligned with a precision that suggests they were designed to catch and channel sunlight. Our only eyewitness account from the empire's zenith comes from a Chinese diplomat, Zhou Daguan, who visited Angkor in 1296. In his detailed report, The Customs of Cambodia, he makes a stunning observation. The central tower of Angkor Wat was either made of solid gold or entirely clad in it. Gold. We know it today as the third most effective conductor of electricity. One must wonder if all the great towers of Angkor once gleamed with a conductive golden skin, not for ornamentation, but for function.
Stay with me, because what comes next has been hidden for a very long time, and only a few people know the truth behind it. And now comes the part no one talks about. But this is where the real mystery begins.
But something else entirely. A form of power station, an organic machine designed to harness the energy of the sun. The precise type of energy they generated and the methods they used remain an open question, but the evidence is tantalizing. Peculiar apertures and chambers are carved into the towers, aligned with a precision that suggests they were designed to catch and channel sunlight. Our only eyewitness account from the empire's zenith comes from a Chinese diplomat, Zhou Daguan, who visited Angkor in 1296. In his detailed report, The Customs of Cambodia, he makes a stunning observation. The central tower of Angkor Wat was either made of solid gold or entirely clad in it. Gold. We know it today as the third most effective conductor of electricity. One must wonder if all the great towers of Angkor once gleamed with a conductive golden skin, not for ornamentation, but for function. Visually, the comparison is arresting. The prasats, the iconic towers of Angkor, bear an uncanny resemblance to the ceramic insulators and transformers of our own modern thermal power plants. And then, in the year 2015, a discovery that shattered the conventional paradigm. Two Australian scientists, Damien Evans and Roland Fletcher, used a laser scanning technology known as LiDAR to peer beneath the dense jungle canopy and the soil itself. They found no new temples or reservoirs. They found mysterious, spiral-shaped structures buried deep within the earth, vast and...
This is where things get really interesting. What you're about to hear might explain why this was never meant to be discovered.
Geometric, a hidden layer to the city that defies all explanation. Spirals, a universal symbol of energy, of galaxies, of life itself. We are left to wonder if we have been looking at Angkor through the wrong lens for centuries, seeing only temples because we expect to see temples. Perhaps the greatest structures of the past were not built for prayer, but for a purpose so advanced that its remnants now masquerade as myth. The Khmer Empire did not just collapse. Its knowledge may have evaporated, leaving behind a magnificent, silent machine, an engine of forgotten science whose secrets we are only just beginning to question. In the southern reaches of Angkor Wat, buried beneath centuries of soil and silence, an archaeology team unearthed a pattern that defied all known convention. In their report, they described them as giant, square coils etched into the earth. The lead researcher, Damien Evans, would lex, if one were to show a reconstruction of this subterranean landscape to a modern engineer, stripped of all context, the conclusion would be inescapable. It resembles nothing less than the motherboard of a computer, a vast terrestrial circuit board with the temples themselves serving as processors, chips, and integrated components. This technological echo reverberates in other, smaller discoveries. Unearthed not far from the main temples were stone boxes meticulously carved in the shape of turtles. Within these strange sarcophagi lay a curious assembly of artifacts, perfectly formed quartz crystals, bundles of bronze wiring, and an unidentifiable gelatinous substance. The components of a battery, a capacitor, a device for storing or transmitting energy, hidden within the symbolic shell of a creature representing longevity and cosmic order. The sheer scale of Angkor's water management has long been attributed to irrigation, a sprawling network of canals and reservoirs to feed a thriving metropolis. But this explanation only satisfies a fraction of the system's complexity. The endless, shadowed channels that run not only between the temple complexes, but deep within their stone foundations, could have served another purpose entirely. They form a perfect architecture for a colossal cooling system designed to dissipate immense heat generated by something. One must consider the sheer, almost illogical scale of the construction. To build such monumental edifices merely for worship seems a profound misallocation of resources. But if we reframe our perspective, if we dare to imagine a different purpose, the logic becomes terrifyingly clear. Compare the footprint of Angkor Wat to a modern power station, such as Chernobyl. The similarity in scale is unsettling. The proposition, however outlandish, presents itself. That building on this titanic scale to generate and harness some form of energy for an entire civilization makes a formidable kind of sense. Perhaps Angkor Wat and other Morn world has divorced from one another. Imagine a single magnificent architecture that served as a power plant, a celestial observatory built to the exacting specifications of cosmic geometry, and a museum of cultural knowledge, its very walls encoded with the archetypes and symbols that formed the bedrock of a nation's consciousness. In this paradigm, the builders were guided by a logic alien to our own. For them, there was no conflict between the sacred and the scientific. The laws of physics and the will of the gods were two dialects of the same universal language. The structure designed to gather energy from the earth or the sky was also by necessity a canvas for depicting the divine. What we perceive as ritualistic worship may have been a form of interaction with the world far more sophisticated than our own, a state of being where technology and theology were not in opposition, but in perfect, symbiotic harmony. Based on this tapestry of evidence, a staggering hypothesis emerges. The builders of Angkor and the architects of the most ancient structures in India may have been one and the same people. A single, highly advanced civilization flourishing more than 5,000 years ago. It is not inconceivable that Angkor, not the Indus Valley, was the true center of this forgotten empire. To test this, we must look to the fringes, to the outposts of this lost kingdom. 95 kilometers east of Angkor lies a ghost on the grid, a complex known locally as Prasat Bakan. Here, the first anomaly is its orientation. While the vast majority of Khmer temples are aligned with the cardinal directions, Prasat Bakan is skewed, rotated roughly 30 degrees to the northeast. Yet this deviation is not random. In a feat of astonishing geodesic precision, the complex sits on the exact same line of longitude as Angkor Wat. But its orientation is only the beginning of the enigma. The sheer area of Prasat Bakan is 1.5 times larger than Angkor's 3 greatest complexes, Angkor Wat, Angkor Thom, and Bante Chamar, combined. It is a sprawling, silent giant, an outlier that holds a key. These are not merely temples scattered across a landscape. They are nodes in a network, a planetary machine whose purpose we have forgotten. We walk through their ruins, calling them tombs and temples, while the fossilized blueprint of a lost science lies dormant, waiting beneath our feet. To comprehend its scale, one must first abandon all familiar measures. Imagine the Giza Plateau with its 3 colossal pyramids. Now, imagine an enclosure so vast it could contain that entire necropolis 30 times over. This is the staggering reality of a lost city in the Cambodian wilderness. Its boundaries are defined by a near-perfect square, each side stretching 4.5 kilometers into the jungle. This was not merely a city, but a fortress of water and earth. It was defended not by one moat, but by 2, a concentric liquid fortress whose engineering defies belief. To circumnavigate just one of these immense channels by boat would be a journey of 18 kilometers. Yet, on its northern face, the waterway abruptly stops, the circuit deliberately broken. Was this monumental project left unfinished, a dream abandoned to the encroaching jungle? Or was this gap a functional artery, a purpose-built causeway left open to transport the millions of tons of stone required for its construction? Here, the fundamental grammar of Khmer architecture is rewritten. In every other great complex, the sacred reservoirs, the bares, lie outside the temple walls. But in this place, the water penetrates the inner sanctum, becoming an integral part of the sacred landscape within. The entire design, when viewed from above, evokes a powerful abstract symbolism. The geometric projection of a sacred lingam, magnified 1,000 times and etched into the very surface of the world. Within this sprawling perimeter lie the ghosts of its former glory. 3 great reservoirs and nearly a dozen smaller ones shimmer amidst the trees. The ruins of dozens of shrines and temples lie scattered, their stones now claimed by moss and strangler figs. Megaliths, toppled and silent, punctuate the landscape. A stone Garuda, wings poised for flight, an elephant carved to the scale of life, the fragmented feet of colossal statues, and the serene faces of celestial dancers, the Apsaras. It is a familiar pantheon, but set within an unfamiliar, almost alien context. A tower and a gateway here even echo the celebrated style of Jayagiri, yet the decay is of a different order entirely. The level of destruction is utterly incomparable to other ancient structures in Cambodia, suggesting a far deeper antiquity. Could this unique combination of features, the unprecedented scale, the anomalous design, the profound ruin, point to this being one of the very first great experiments of the Khmer Empire? The answer remains locked in stone. Due to its remoteness and obscurity, the armies of restorers have yet to arrive in force. For now, it remains a silent laboratory, a place uniquely attractive to those who seek not to rebuild the past, but to listen to its unfiltered whispers. But the architectural enigmas of ancient Cambodia are not confined to a single location. 267 kilometers to the south, near the nation's edge, another mystery rises from the plains. On a solitary hill, 119 meters high, stands Phnom Chisor. Its ancient name, Surya Parvata, translates to the mountain of the sun god, a sanctuary built to touch the heavens. Its foundation is pyramidal, a man-made mountain crowned with sacred superstructures. Here, the masterful artistry of Angkor is on full display. Exquisite carvings etched into sandstone and delicate stone jalousies, or window grills, that filter the harsh sunlight into geometric patterns. But alongside these masterpieces, smaller, cruder versions of the same grills appear, a curious inconsistency in the work of masters. Today, the complex is a scattered jigsaw puzzle. Restorers have painstakingly attempted to piece it back together, but the result is a disquieting dialogue between past and present. Some stone blocks are fitted with breathtaking precision, their seams almost invisible. Others are laid crudely, with gaps wide enough to fit a finger, sometimes stacked haphazardly atop layers of modern brick. These brick interpretation of what was believed to have been lost. Phnom Chisor is not alone on its hill. To descend from its main eastern entrance is to begin a pilgrimage down a staircase of 400 steps. A path leads onward, first to a cruciform structure named Sent Mol, then to a second, Sen Rovieng, forgotten way stations on a sacred route. And at the end, some 2 to 3 kilometers from the mountain's base, lies the faint outline of what was once a small basin, a miniature barre, a humble echo of the grand waterworks of Angkor. From the impossibly vast, unfinished enclosure of the north to the layered, reconstructed Temple Mountain of the south, these sites pose more questions than they answer. They are not merely monuments to what was, but to the endless human ambition to shape the very earth. An ambition whose grandest designs and most profound failures lie waiting still for us to decipher. 135 kilometers northeast of Angkor, clinging to a sheer precipice on the border with Thailand, lies the temple of Preah Vihear. Its most astonishing feature is not its art, but its position. It is a sanctuary at the edge of the world, a stone sentinel perched atop a colossal cliff from which the Great Plains kingdom of Kambu, with the distant spires of Angkor shimmering somewhere in the haze. And sanctuaries aligned with geometric precision. The familiar signatures of a forgotten mastery are here. The false doors leading nowhere, the intricate polygonal blocks, the silent stories carved into bas-reliefs. Evidence abounds of an industrial effort, with quarry marks showing where massive stones were hewn directly from the mountain. But a deeper mystery is etched into its very fabric. Enormous, perfectly circular apertures are bored through stone floors and stairways, their chaotic placement defying any known constructional purpose. They resemble the aftermath of an attack with an unknown weapon, or the work of a colossal drill guided by an inexplicable logic. To this day, no verifiable explanation for their origin exists. What is certain is that they were made after the temple was complete, not by its builders, but by their descendants, or perhaps their enemies. One is left to wonder if we even see the complex in its entirety, or if a significant portion has already tumbled into the valley below, lost to time and gravity. This enigma is not an isolated one. Across these lands, a symphony of stone poses its own unanswerable questions. There is Bante Srey, a citadel of breathtaking reliefs, built in perfect miniature, its structures half the size of any other. There is Pre Roop, a funerary mountain whose three-tiered pyramid and towers speak a silent language of cosmic geometry. And Bante Kadei, with its famous Hall of Dancers, its illogical notches for structural ties, and its mysterious square holes cut deep into the walls. Each site, Phnom De, Sambo Prekuk, Preako, is a chapter in a book whose language we have forgotten. We are left to walk through the ruins of a grand, unanswered question. The silence of the builders is absolute. All that remains is the stone, and the stories it can no longer tell.
Welcome to my channel. If you're fascinated by hidden truths, lost civilizations, and unsolved mysteries, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like